listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Hello, hello, hello. And if you hear my voice, you know it is time to get tapped in. I don't have my regular water bottle. And we are here, and this is ZaKiya Bell Rogers.
And this is Leonard Jones.
Yes, and Leonard and I come to you from Buncombe County Communications and Public Engagement. We're real heroes, we're Kates.
And today we have a show today in which we're going to talk with one of our community partners. So we have Sean Palmer from the YMI Cultural Center in downtown Asheville. He's going to share us about some information of what's happening at the YMI and what the future has to hold for it. Welcome to our show.
Hey everybody, good to be here today.
Yes, and we know that the YMI Cultural Center is the oldest African American culture center
in the country.
Country. And how old is the YMI?
The YMI goes all the way back to the 1890s. So 1893, we will celebrate a birthday in February around the 12th or 13th. So it's been celebrated in that time period. And it is at least 130 years old.
Wow.
And so Asheville has a distinction of having the oldest Black culture center, independent cultural center. And as we know, the cultural center movement, Black cultural center movement, has made its way primarily in the 1960s, following integration. And so you get cultural centers and Black houses all across the country at your universities, predominantly white universities, all the way from places like Yale down to New Mexico and Colorado. I have friends who work in cultural centers in Mississippi. And so that's one place. And then when people start gentrifying Black communities across the country, Black cultural centers start to pop up and develop as Black communities move to areas. So places like Hayti got a cultural center, is the Cultural Center of Durham, Black Cultural Center of Durham, because of the gentrification and how they built the highway. Places like New Mexico got their cultural centers because Black folks started moving into the area for a better life post the civil rights movement.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But we're the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, tell us a little about yourself.
Yes.
You're the new executive director at the YMI, so we say welcome to Asheville.
Thank you kindly.
We're excited to see what's new and bring in the YMI, especially in the 21st century. Just kind of bringing it up. We know it's some remodels that happen, but first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes.
I'm Sean Palmer, country boy from South Carolina, Lexington, South Carolina. By way of Minneapolis, I went to undergrad in Minneapolis, went to Clark Atlanta for my first master's degree, and then second master's was done at Duke Divs, so Duke University, and then I was just at UNCW, UNC Wilmington, down on the coast, and I'm the oldest of 7. So I come from a very big family, married to one wife who is ZaKiya Sarah.
Yes.
And we have one child. I'm a pastor of a local church in Wilmington still, Chestnut Street Presbyterian, which is the oldest Black Presbyterian church in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
And so I'm used to running historic things, if that gives you a clue of who I am. And then I have one son, and we are members of everything from the NAACP to Jack and Jill. So we are involved in quite a bit in things. And I'm a member of Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Yes,
so
and
I bring
that
those
is
distinctions with me.
the first Black
The first
Greek fraternity,
Amen.
founded at Cornell University, right? And so in December 6th,
1906.
Yes,
that's okay.
Yes, December 4th, 1906. It's been a long time since I had to say that.
That's okay.
But Sean, thank you so much, because we know coming to a new city, and you came after Helene.
Yeah.
Well, during Helene, during the
I got the
part.
job during Helene, before Helene, and then I started coming up the mountains quietly right after to start, figuring out what this would look like, and then make some decisions around how to transition the center. But it was a very quiet start.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't get really public until December about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during that time, how was the YMI utilized during honing?
So the YMI became an emergency space. It became a site for emergency goods, and it had everything in it from diapers to clothes. And we began to be one of those places that was a distribution site. And there were a number of volunteers, shout out to Bridging the Gap, for their work in making that happen. But volunteers came together from all across the city, races, all colors, creeds, professions, all of that, and delivered goods to every part of the city and really the region that they could. And so YMI, because it was almost finished in its process, was able to be a site because of the prophetic way in which the city understood that the YMI needed to be supported and redeveloped and re-envisioned. And so because we were almost at the end of our rebuilding, it made it possible for us to be a site that didn't have much damage, but could lead in the efforts to ensure that Western North Carolina had what it needed.
So I heard you mention around the rebuilding. Can you tell us about some of the new features of the YMI and where the community can come back and reintroduce themselves back to the YMI in this new remodel state?
We are excited to do this because it is a state-of-the-art building.
Yes.
And it has lights and sounds and gadgets and as my grandma would say, it's got gabobbles galore. It's got gabobbles galore. So, I mean, there are spaces for folks to do meetings. There's a space. The gym was converted into a space for gatherings and special events. There's a boardroom upstairs where you could easily host your meetings. There's spaces down on the bottom floor or the basement area. There's a patio area where we could do food and barbecue. And then there's our art gallery is back up and running.
Yes.
State of the art sound and lighting technology is running through the building. And then there are and it is maintained the beauty that the ancestors bequeathed to us. So it is still a wood space that features the architecture of this specific area and thinks about the many hands that went into it. And then our salon spaces that are kind of on the outside are maintained. They just got a coat of paint so they can still be utilized. So we have rentable spaces, we have special event spaces, we have a gallery space, we have meeting spaces, and it's a beautiful building. It was like one of the things that, there are very few 18,000 square feet buildings built just for Black folks in communities, and this is a crown jewel in Black culture.
18,000 square feet.
Yes.
That is I always knew it was big, and I never could put a number to it because I didn't know, but now it makes so much sense. And I'm looking forward to all of the different things that you all doing. Like Monday, you all had an event.
We partnered.
Yes. And they had a event where they showed a Zoom
play.
Yes, a Zoom play. A spoken word play. And so my thing is that lets our community know there are so many things. You dream it, it can happen.
I think that was the intention. I think a lot of folks in other communities, if they saw what we had, would be really jealous. Because I've been on the ground in other communities where they were like, I wish we had a space to meet, a space to do our programming, a space to do the cotillion or botillion, a space to have a Black arts fair, and most communities have to bargain with the city, folks who own the businesses to have stuff. But that's not the case in Asheville. And what Asheville, even though we are an intimate community, and I know that just looking at the numbers, and we know that we're being pushed into the region and so into some of our more rural counties. And so we want to be a space that really is for the area. And what that means is city and metro, urban and rural, and really want to tell the story of what we call Afro-Latino or Black Highlander, depending on who you talk to. We want to be able to tell that story about this community, these people, these legacy communities and neighborhoods. And we want to give them space to flourish. The YMI I know is beloved. I've gotten calls from every part of the city that says, do you know what you're getting? Do you know the legacy? And so we're hoping that not only can we get Tyler Perry plays, just kidding, just kidding, but we love a good play. But that some folks would do Black Nativity or The Wiz or commit to using our space to do that kind of work. That we would be able to partner with folks who are artists and who can dream big, and give themselves some time to do that dreaming. I will tell people that as a programmer, someone who has been a national award-winning cultural center director with a Center of the Year, so that's who I've been, that I'm going to bring those best practices to the YMI. And so we will probably operate in a year-to-year calendar so that you're not guessing about what we're up to. Of course, we'll work with groups that get good ideas and bright ideas, but we will seek to be a place that you will have access to our space and know what we're doing. So we're getting ready to inaugurate our first calendar, which will be called And Be Warm in honor of Nikki Giovanni.
Oh.
So she writes a poem about Knoxville, Tennessee, about going to her grandmother's house, and that at her grandmother's house, she's, of course she's from the mountains, but she writes this poem that says, when I get to my grandmother's house, there's so much love, I can be warm. And I think that is what we are saying in this year of radical hospitality, where we open the doors of the YMI in Black History Month, and we do our ribbon cutting in Black History Month. We open this space up. And so we want people to come into this space and be warmed. Be warmed by the community, be warmed by the genius, and be warmed by what our ancestors gave us. Yeah. So that's where we're headed.
That is beautiful.
That is. That's very exciting. It's one of those things where you say, like, as a community, especially for myself, I think around the idea of how do we create community? And some of the things here, just like you with this long legacy, as you mentioned, around the YMI, and just even thinking of the ancestors that requested the YMI and paid for the YMI.
Hallelujah.
And so it's one of those things where that's what community needs in 2025.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting that you come with your expertise and your knowledge around how to make that space just as usable as it was when it was first designed and created, that it's still a gathering place, and especially for Black Asheville, Black Western North Carolina, Black Buncombe County, and that there's a space in downtown Asheville for Black people. So it's very exciting to see, and as you mentioned around kind of reopening up, I know in December, your introduction to the community was an event, but you're also saying that coming up in February, so around with Black History Month, Black Legacy Month, however you may refer to it, what are some of the plans that you said to kind of reintroduce the YMI?
Okay, so I was about to give you a Jay-Z lyric.
Let us reintroduce ourselves.
Yeah, we're named the Y.
And we
YMI. So
and you need that for a new generation.
Yeah,
it's not your it's still got the legacy.
It's your grandmama and your grandbabies.
Yeah.
YMI.
We don't. It's our YMI.
It is our YMI. That's such a good way to put it. So let me give you 3 initiatives. Well, I'll shorten them, but I'm very excited about the initiatives that we're embarking upon. So one is an artist in residence program that we're going to invite artists in to use our art gallery as a place to do their first or second or third showing. We know we have a lot of artists in the area, and so we're using the principles of Kwanzaa as a way to guide some of our programming. So this uses the principle of creativity, Kuumba. So the Kuumba Artist in Residence program, which will every 2 months will bring in Black artists from the area who have artwork ready to go and put their art exhibit up. They'll be able to apply. We'll be able to choose. We're going to, they'll be our first cohort, so we'll have 6 in that first cohort. We're going to support them in their art exhibition. We're going to try to make sure that they get a good little stipend for their work. Yeah. And then we want them to be able to sell their art over the course of the gallery exhibition to tell us the story about it. So that is one way. So that's synergizing this business empowerment piece that is a part of who we are, and it's synergizing this commitment to culture and arts and tourism which is another part of who we are. So that's one program. Another program is the ZaKiya of Resident Organization program. So ZaKiya is, of course, the principle that acknowledges self-determination. And we believe that if we don't have community organizations who are resilient in this moment where their communities have been torn asunder, both, what I might call college educated organizations plus organizations in the hood where my grandma lived, right? You need both sets of organizations, but a lot of times organizations don't have a place to flourish and grow. So we are creating a resiliency program for organizations to be able to have space, free 99 in the building, that they can come in and do their monthly meetings or weekly meetings, and they will be our resident organizations. Nice. A part of that program is synergistic, meaning that we would hope that they would also, we want to be able to provide resources because we have former college presidents coming in, HBCU college presidents coming in, we have leaders coming in from across the community, and then we bring with ourselves a number of skills like how to do parliamentary procedure and how to organize yourself and what does grant writing look like. And so we have access to that kind of cadre of folks, and so what we want to do is teach our communities the skills that they need. So we hope to invite people to be a resident in our building, and then we will invite them to go on this journey of learning and making sure that they have what they need. And then we hope to have a relationship where they will volunteer for our programs with us. So they'll be able to do their volunteer hours, and we'll be able to have a larger bandwidth for some of our more dynamic programs that are signature of the space. So, a Taste of Black Asheville, Goombay. We need people, we need hands. And we need young hands, old hands, grandma hands. We need hands that are disabled. We need queer hands. We need black hands, white hands. So we need hands. So we need folks to put their hands on the YMI. And so the other thing that we're hoping that we'll do is that you will get synergy between the organizations. So the organizations that may not go running to each other, that may not know each other, would be able to do things together. So a lot of our organizations, like I think about Alpha 4, just to say, we do a lot of scholarships, but a lot of times our scholarships go to the kids that we know. How do we get to the kid who is not in the neighborhood that looks like ours? And so that is what a hope of that program would be, is that it would help spawn community beyond class, and so they would bring them together. So that's the ZaKiya program. We got the pop-up series. So the pop-up series is done in our salons, and will be like every few weeks we throw something up, and you don't know when it's gonna happen, but like we got a pop-up that we want to do on Black Greek life. We want to bring the Greeks together in the community and just let them have a good time and enjoy themselves. But we're going to do a pop-up on some other things. We're talking about a Black Bridal Expo, because we know that we want the space to be utilized, but we also want people to know where the things are. Should they get married, or should they have a special event, right? Like we want you to be able to find those folks, and might go regionally around. So from Spartanburg to Winston-Salem, all the way up into the mountains and over to Johnson City or over to Boone, bringing folks together so that they can learn each other. And then we're going to inaugurate a music series called Banjo Banjul.
Oh, wow.
Banjo Banjul seeks to think about all of the ways in which music operates in Black community, that it's not just hip hop, it's not just jazz, it is all of it. There's not an American music that African Americans haven't had their hands in, and we need to be that for the city, because the city needs its soul back. Right? And so if we can bring in, like, I love neo soul and gospel, and anybody who saw me at the Martin Luther King thing knows that I was having a great time.
Yes, you were.
Over in the corner, because I love the Lord. And y'all know that when y'all hire a preacher. But I also am I'm a Gen Xer, so I love hip hop. You probably be surprised what's on my list. I'm not gonna tell you yet. But I was just listening to jazz. I grew up in cultural centers that were jazz based. So we've had weekly jazz in those buildings. When I think about where we are in the foothills or in the mountains of Appalachia, the banjo becomes the instrument from the continent of Africa that is translated into all musical forms in the mountains.
Wow.
And so the two instruments, the drumming, the use of the drum, and the use of the banjo, which in West African tradition would have been called a banjul, means that these are the sonic sounds of this area that are also related to the sonic sounds of our homeland. And so the reason that we have named it Banjo Banjul is because we want to acknowledge that folks use banjos, and we want to acknowledge that that is what they're called here, but the word is even an African word.
Yeah.
And we want to recover that history as we give you the sound of your people.
I did not know banjo was an African word.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just the knowledge just from this conversation. From music to art to interacting and creating a community, is so much to look forward to, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Especially in our community and in our county, and we've been through so much since Helene, and we had the reparations commissions, and
shout out.
Yes, and we had
don't work with them too.
Yes, and we've also know that a lot of things came out from there.
Yes.
And one of those things was health, criminal justice, housing, education, economic development, and the things that you're talking about. You're hitting a lot of those things in the YMI, and that's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm so glad to have you. So, have you thought about your 5-year plan?
Yes.
When it comes to the YMI.
Yeah, my goal is to have my 5-year plan done in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
Partially because I think it's good to know where you're going. This might be straight up out the church. Habakkuk, write the vision and make it plain.
Yes.
And so it is important that we lay out that so folks will know how to get in with us. It is kind of my signature thing. It's one of the things I teach Cultural Center directors to do, which is to not be reactionary in the spaces that they're in, because many times Black people get called to be everything to everybody. And I'm remembering something that Toni Morrison says, is that the goal of white supremacy is to get you off your work. So if I am prepared, if I have a plan, if I know what that plan looks like, yes, we can be like jazz and improvise, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a plan.
Yeah.
It has a lot, it's just like jazz, it has a structure. And so in my goal with the Cultural Center is really to create a plan that can be lived out over time. So yes, I am thinking in 5 years, like, who will be the headliner for Goombay?
Yeah.
Who will be the headliner, where do we start? And how do we build a crescendo, if we will, for over the next 5 years with the center? What will the themes be? And so I've started tinkering with those things, and as people give me information about what they remember about the YMI, I'm thinking also about how to sankofa, meaning how to go back and fetch. So that's what that word means. And so I want to go back and fetch some of the old ways and remix them, because yes, we are hip hop artists in this moment as Afrikaners, as people who work in cultural centers. So we are going to bring them forward. We gotta bring old school traditions into new school spaces. And there's a tediousness to that, because expectation around the city is everything. And that is because YMI really, per decade, has been something different for every generation. But we think we can do these four things: cultural tourism and education. Education is the second one, so cultural education and arts awareness, and then empowerment. So whether we're talking businesses or community empowerment, and then wellness, because you can't have an unhealthy community, and wellness is broad, right? Wellness could mean your health, but it could also mean your mental health.
Yeah.
It could also mean your spirit. And we want to acknowledge that we operate on multiple planes.
Yes.
And so we are interested in those 4 buckets. We think that those encompass the wide history of the space, because economic empowerment encompasses entrepreneurship, and we can get to do some of those things. But we want to make sure that we're hitting things that can't be done in other spaces as we raise YMI into its national reputation. That is where we're headed. So the YMI is a local and regional artifact, but it is, in this moment, it is the oldest Black cultural center in the country, and it has to act as such. Yeah.
You know, again, thank you so much. And you said something that really, strikes with all of us, and we think about health and us coming out of this this natural disaster. Now we're coming up on month 4, and I think we're out of the I'm doing until I'm feeling. And I think with us getting more information out about the YMI and knowing what is there, that and the YMI can also be seen as a place of healing.
Yes.
Because it does have such a presence and history in the community.
Absolutely.
And so how are folks how are folks able to come by just to view it, or how are they able to go access the building?
So they can easily, we have a staff in the office. We're finishing up the hiring of our last staff member. So we got one more staff member to hire for operations, but they can email us. They can, if they want to work with us and partner with us on a program, our website gives them information to do that. It will say special event, like if you go into our special event space. And if you know your dates of the program that you want to do, you can email us through that particular portal, and it will allow us to know that we have folks who want to do stuff with us. And so that gives us, it books your time and your space and holds your space down, and then we're able to return to a call with you. People can email me directly, which is what is already happening, Sean at YMICulturalCenter.org. So Sean at YMICulturalCenter.org.
And that's SEAN.
SEAN.
Yes.
Yeah, scene. Like bean. But Sean, because my mama said I was Irish. I'm not Irish. I'm black. But we know, no one knows. We don't know. But they can also, Alexandria, who has been in the cultural center world for a minute, and who runs Collective Noir with her daughter Ajax. They can reach us through that means, because a lot of people go through her. But our executive coordinator is in the building. Her name is Rohini, and Rohini at YMICulturalCenter.org. You can also go through our board members. We have a number of amazing board members. Shout out to the board. Thank you so much for your work. And I really want to say this to folks who have worked at the YMI, who did not get to sever or part ways in the way that they should have, that we appreciate your work, and I am grateful for the legacy that you have left, no matter where you are in the world, and I'm thankful for all the work that has been done, and we honor you, and we honor your legacy, and you will see us doing more to say thank you to this community for not letting something that could have died in 1960 or 1980 or 1990 or 2010 or even right now in the middle of a Helene. You could have said, let's just wrap this up. But you put your life on the lines to make this building a place and a home for this community. And so on behalf of the YMI staff and board, I say thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because sometimes people do feel left out, and thank you for including them. And we're almost out of time, and so Leonard, I'm gonna go Leonard, then I'm gonna go Sean, then Leonard. I'm sorry, and then myself. What do you want to leave our listeners with?
I want to leave you with hope. I want to leave you in this moment where we see a number of national pieces of antagonism. I want you to know that the center is a place of hope and joy and community, and it is also a testament to the resilience and strength of Black folks and white folks working together to create a space and to sustain a space that is like none other. And so I want to say that we have been. I know that since the election, a lot of us have been on rest. We've been resting, but this is the time to be in community. And this is the time to connect to community. Not even if TikTok go down or other social medias go down, you have a community of people who love you, want to support you, and we want you to be the people who can fly. Now go look at your folktales to discover where that is. But we want you to know that you are meant to fly. even in the mountains.
The People Who Could Fly. I remember that book.
Yeah.
Well, I would just like to say, as a native of Asheville, Mr. Palmer, I just welcome you to Asheville. I love history, so I think of those leaders and those preachers that imagined the YMI, and I also pay honor to the preachers that got together to reopen the YMI as a cultural center in the 80s. And so in 2025, it's very exciting to find that there's a preacher again that's coming to the YMI to bring it into a rebirth. And it's a world that's being more inclusive, a world that's just trying to embrace the full authenticity of Black people. And so I hope in 2025 and as we go forward that the YMI can reclaim and become that again, that jewel for Black Asheville and the area, and as you said, on a national level. Again, as a native, it's one of those areas in where the YMI has very significance. My mom got married in the YMI.
Hey.
My brother got married in the YMI. And my brother was also a barber in one of the shops at the YMI. So it's a very close connection, personally to my family.
And you attended ZaKiya's reception.
Yeah, and ZaKiya reception was in the YMI. And so there are very strong heartfelt connections to the YMI. And so as we move forward, as I say, it may not be your grandma's YMI, but it's a YMI that can be for today and for the future. And so I just pray that you have great advancement. And for those individuals, the YMI is located in the Black Business District known as the Block here in Asheville. And the building is located at 39 South Market Street, Asheville, and that's then downtown. And so go out, as he mentioned, next month we're going into Black History Month, and it's a great way just to reintroduce yourself to the YMI and help bring about all the things in which Mr. Palmer spoke about today. And as natives of the area, we know you're new to the area. Let's open our arms and be warm and welcoming and very excited at what this can bring for not only ourselves but for our community.
Yes. Thank you so much, Leonard. And I just want to say, to wrap this up with our community, sometimes we always say X, Y, and Z, or the family, the community has not been the same since Big Mama, Meemaw, Nana, Grandma, Great Grandma, Mimi, and all those names, has passed. And it's not the same because no one picks up the legacy. And the reason why no one picks up the legacy, because we don't understand that we're next in line. And so this is our time to pick up the torches and start walking in the right direction. We are our grandparents now. If you think back, those people who were in your community were in their 40s and 50s. If someone is in their 90s and they're still out here having a fight, you need to come to them and you need to learn everything that they know and take the things that you know and mesh them together and to create a new. Because we're about weaving the generations together, and that is what the YMI is about. It's about weaving the generations together and creating a 15 being soup that we all can partake in, that we all can benefit from. And so my thing is, it is time for us to stop saying it has not been the same, because but now to say it's not the same because I went and I did X, Y, and Z, and I am making sure the legacy is continuing. And because someone passes away does not mean their light has left. It means that their light now shines on for you to step into the legacy. So with that being said, you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Nashville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.